Okay. Today I'm going to show you the complete coffee roasting process. I'm starting with some green beans, and I'm using Ethiopian Yergashefe that I bought online from Theta Ridge Coffee. Okay, now I'm going to weigh out 300 grams of green beans. My roaster could probably handle a little bit more, but 300 grams or about 3/4 of a pound is my target. I use grams rather than ounces because it's a lot more precise. So we have 300 grams.
We're now approaching International Roasting Headquarters.
So Ethiopian Yergashefe is about ready to be roasted in the Full Bean International Headquarters. The roaster that I'm using is a Kaldi roaster. I bought online. It's a South Korean product, and it didn't come with any provision for heating, so I hooked up a propane tank and a propane burner, which you see here. And I rigged up a barbecue igniter, and it's going to take 2, 3, or 4 minutes before that happens. Ignite it. It consists of a hopper. This is called a trier. As I'm roasting, I can take out the beans and look at them to monitor their progress. This is a probe connected to a thermocouple. I'll show you that in a moment. So the thermocouple is connected to a heat snob device and a USB connection to a Windows computer. So what this allows me to do is to closely monitor the temperature and the time of the roast. So I'll go ahead and launch the program. And start it. Now I'll turn on the propane. I have a needle valve here in addition to the valve on the propane tank. So I'll start the igniter, open the valve, and you can hear that it began. Now I'll turn on the drum. This is something that I made. And the drum is rotating now. I'm going to let it heat to 400 degrees before I put the green beans in. This is a blower that I use after I've roasted to blow the chaff off of the roasted beans. Here are some bowls, and after I've finished roasting, I empty the hopper into the bowls, and then I pour them one to the other with the fan on, and that blows the chaff off of the roasted beans, and it also cools them quickly. You can see the heating process on the graph here. I've got 159, 160 degrees. Once it gets to 400 degrees, I'll go ahead and dump the beans in. You may notice down here in the bottom that it says my thermocouple shorted out. I find that I can ignore that. It has no effect whatsoever on the temperature reading. You roast the coffee beans according to their origin and the flavor that you're looking for. So here's a chart. I'm using the nomenclature that's used by Sweet Maria's. There's the unroasted coffee bean progressing through to my favorite, eminent fire. I'm going to shoot for probably about there. That's a Vienna or a light French roast. In order to cool down the roasting process, I have a blower back here that I can turn on, and it blows cold air across the surface. I made that out of the blower from a gas-fired furnace, and it's not the ideal way to cool down coffee beans, but it works for me. We're coming up on 400 degrees now. At that point, I will dump the beans in. Another reason for roasting 300 grams is that's what fits in the hopper. Then I have to shake the dryer in order to get the beans to drop into the spinning roaster. And now I'm going to click on load. You can see that it's indicated that I loaded the machine at this point. It's going to drop quite a bit. I don't want it to get over 440 degrees. Now, some people obsess about the temperature, the accuracy of the temperature. I'm not particularly concerned. What I want is repeatability rather than accuracy. If it worked out indicating a particular temperature, I just want to be able to get to that certain temperature again, whether or not it's the actual temperature or the indicated temperature. The fryer here will allow me to sample the beans, and as you can see here, these are straight green beans. They haven't started to roast at all yet. I have to turn this down so that the beans don't sit in the fryer. I want them to be tossed around in the rotating drum. If this were a normal roast, I'd have a fan going to exhaust the smoke, but that makes it even harder to film. So for this particular shoot, there's no fan running. You can see that the temperature is starting to rise now. Once it gets to about 400, I'm going to turn the flame down a little bit. When you're heating, after you take off the heat, the temperature continues to rise, so you need to cut it off long before you reach the desired temperature. I'm just going to turn it down now. The black line that you see here is the temperature. The other lines are for things that I don't have hooked up. That would be the airflow and so on. I don't have any of those sensors, so I can ignore that. So you can see that the beans are starting to change color. When I roast, the roasted beans go through several stages. At first crack, it sounds like popcorn popping, and that's when the beans are expanding and they burst the chaff. After a while, that changes into second crack when the beans themselves expand, and that sounds somewhat like Rice Krispies in milk. So I just turned off the flame and turned on the blower because I don't want to exceed 440 degrees by very much. You'll notice that when I turn the blower off, the temperature starts to rise again instead. Apparently not today. I'm going to go ahead and reignite the flame. And have it low. That was the beginning of first crack that you may have heard. I will mark that here. The purpose of graphing the roast is for repeatability. If this turns out spectacular, I want to be able to replicate that the next time that I roast the coffee. If it's horrible, likewise, I want to be able to avoid that so I don't make the same mistake again. Now you can hear that we're in full first crack. As I said earlier, if we weren't filming, I'd have a blower going to get the smoke out of here. That's a very good reason for not roasting inside. We still haven't gotten to second crack, so I'm going to continue roasting until we do. There's typically a delay between the end of first crack and the beginning of second crack. That's where we are in the process. The amount of time that it takes to reach second crack varies quite a bit depending on the ambient temperature and the nature of the coffee bean that you're roasting. I'm hearing a hint of second crack now. Now you can hear it in second crack. The amount that you roast the coffee is determined by a variety of factors, one of which is personal preference. I'm going with that. So I'm going to turn off the roaster. And turn on the blower. And now I will pour the roasted beans between bowls to cool it off. I found that this is a good way to remove the chaff from the roasted beans as well. I want to cool the beans so that they don't continue to roast. So you can see that I have some partially roasted beans in here. I will remove those. And finally, pour these into the container in which I brought them. The next process is cleaning up my mess. So that's it, roasting at home with a Kaldi roaster. Thank you for watching. I hope that you found this video to be informative.